Breaking news, SkyCal is over a stolen vehicle pursuit, and Desmond Shaw is live in SkyCal with more. Des?
Well, Pat, here we go. This silver Honda Civic right now that just made this turn in the Panorama City area into a residential area. Let's see if they may be taking the tracking opportunity to see if they can get out and run. The helicopter overhead is letting the units know every time it goes into these residential streets to close in a little bit. So they are in tracking mode right now. We have seen some pretty high speeds on this one, up to 60, even 70 miles an hour on some of these. So they backed off. They're back there. They're just kind of trying to keep their distance, trying to keep tabs on the suspect without kind of freaking them out or agitating them too much at this point, as we're back out onto Van Nuys Boulevard. So we've kind of been in the Panorama City area now for a little bit, circling this kind of general area. Here we go back up to 60 miles an hour or so. Unclear how many people are in the car. Of course, we've got those dark tints, as we always do, and get through that red light. So some more dangerous maneuvers here. Late night on the streets, Van Nuys Boulevard at Woodman. Somebody getting pretty close there, not even realizing that they were, almost got involved in that pursuit right there. So, yeah, kind of a dangerous one out here with this allegedly stolen vehicle. Pat, Mike.
Okay, Des, can we confirm what agencies are on the ground and overhead?
Yeah, it's LAPD on both. It was started, I believe, in the West Valley is where we first heard about this. Kind of in the Tarzana areas where we were first picking up the radio chatter on this. And then their helicopter, I believe, was in the valley already overhead. So kind of worked out. They were able to get the helicopter overhead pretty quickly, and then that allowed them to go back into tracking mode. And so that's why you're seeing primarily from the air right now with that spotlight overhead from Police 16.
Okay, have we heard about any attempts, any spike strip attempts or pit maneuvers at this point? I guess not.
No, none of that yet. I mean, we really heard them go into tracking mode really quickly on this one. So no pit maneuvers likely at this point. Or, spike strips could if this drags on, it's definitely possible. As the suspect gets ready to go underneath us here on Devonshire Street. We're up near those big catch basins on the edge of the Granada Hills area right here. That's why it's so dark as we zoom back in here. So, yeah, where is the suspect headed? We've covered a pretty decent amount of ground here in the San Fernando Valley, but still tracking mode, no spike strips, no pit maneuvers at this point.
Okay, when do you think, I mean, there is that possibility, of course, that that could happen since they're still tracking this vehicle overhead.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be setting up for anything.
For sure, and there have been conversations between the airship and the incident commander that is kind of handling this. Now, they are, excuse me, they are in tracking mode, and I actually need to check with LAPD because I've noticed kind of recently in chases, the policy for LAPD used to be when they were in tracking mode, the night sun comes off on the helicopter.
Right.
That has not been the case. The last couple chases we've done with them, the night sun has remained on when they're in tracking mode, so I'd be curious to know if that was a policy change, and I'll try to figure that answer out. But they do have the night sun on, which obviously the design of tracking mode is to make the guy think like, hey, we've backed off, we're not on to you, da-da-da.
So you wouldn't think they'd have the light on?
Yeah, certainly a spotlight overhead is not going to make the guy think that they backed off. So we'll check in on that. But I also know that they were talking about the tracking mode. They went into tracking mode as soon as the helicopter got overhead, as soon as the LAPD airship got overhead is when they went into tracking mode. And then they talked about going back and forth on whether or not they wanted to stay in tracking mode, and sounds like the incident commander did. Now, there was also talk about how many people were in the car, and because, as Desmond mentioned, the windows are pretty tinted, that they were not able to get a good idea of how many people are in the car. So that's also a concern for them as well.
Okay, it's interesting. They're in Mission Hills now. Do we see, I know earlier you mentioned, Desmond, that this started around the Tarzana area in the valley. Mike looks like he wants to say something.
Yeah, sorry, Pat. They just discontinued the chase. Oh. So airships pulling off, ground units. So I'm sorry, airship's going to stay over it, but not technically be in pursuit. So that's why the light came off. Ground units have been told to get out of the area, and they have cleared. So airship will monitor it. The incident commander said, monitor it. If anything gets crazy or high speeds, let us know.
Okay, so guys, kind of help us out here. Now, since they have pulled off this chase, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily thinking they can catch up with this person, right? I mean, they haven't just, or is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, for now, they're leaving the helicopter overhead, it looks like. The incident commander asked if the airship could stay overhead, which it sounds like they're still doing. So they're just, the technicality of being in a pursuit is no longer happening. So if they're talking about if he's going to bail and where he's going to bail, they'll get whatever division he ends up in to have units start responding.
Okay, so they still have the airship overhead, as you say. So
yeah.
even though we're calling this, they're calling this off, it's still, wouldn't you say, still tracking this?
Yes, tracking or surveilling, I would say. I mean, it's weird because, you know, when you look at this on paper, technically the pursuit will have been terminated, but the helicopter is going to keep eyes on him, and hopefully, you know, he'll figure all this out, pull over, and then we can be done with this, and you know, those units will try to come in and take him into custody. But the technicality of being in a pursuit at this point has been terminated, but the helicopter is in the area and we'll watch him, and hopefully he'll give up or get out of the car at some point and they'll be able to take him into custody.
All right, well, Desmond, you're still overhead as well. It looks pretty dark where this vehicle is now in a residential area.
Yeah, and we're pretty much into the city of San Fernando now at this point, the second smallest city in LA County. They do have their own police agency here. It'd be kind of interesting if the LAPD helicopter were able to get a hold of that agency and see if they had any interest in this. And the way this person is driving, just speeding and stuff, I mean, we know how those smaller agencies can be kind of protective of their jurisdictions and they can be kind of on the more aggressive side. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the units, if they were just out here on patrol, saw the way this person was driving and wanted to investigate further. It could definitely be possible. I also heard the helicopter, it sounded like they were trying to get, you know, CHP involved or something, but hard to imagine that CHP would get involved since we're on surface streets and because we're talking about, you know, a stolen vehicle. We're not talking about, you know, a super violent alleged criminal here. So, and we've just noticed from experience a lot of times when the helicopter asks CHP for that, they tend to just, you know, kind of be like, no, you know, let us know. Call us back if he gets on the freeway or something like that. Yeah. So, well, then let's see. So, Paxton and San Fernando Road right over here by the 5 freeway. So back out of just to see how small San Fernando is. Just as quickly as we were in it, we're back out of it now. So back into LAPD jurisdiction here. But yeah, nobody behind him, no spotlight. Still driving kind of crazy though. So then it's like, well, now we're just watching someone kind of carte blanche do whatever they want out here, and there's no law enforcement kind of taking any interest in this. It's, you know, kind of a frustrating thing to see.
Yeah, it is, and now they're picking up speed there. You know, you said near the 5 freeway. I guess they have not at this point made any kind of move to get on the freeway as of yet, since you've been over this desk.
No, it's been on surface streets the entire time. They were kind of close to the 101 freeway at one point, but didn't get on there. We saw them cross the 405, and they were also, you know, we had a couple opportunities there for the 5 freeway and decided not to. So onto Laurel Canyon right now. And yeah, I mean, 60 miles an hour. And by the way, I noticed too, this seems to be kind of a newer thing I've just been noticing over the past couple of months, is that not only do we have, you know, all of the windows tinted, we have the windshield tinted as well, I'm pretty sure. This is now the second or third time I've seen in the last couple of months, which is like just such a audacious thing to be parading around, to have what looks like a tinted windshield out there. And, you know, I mean, if everything else is illegal, then you know that that's got to be blatantly illegal as well. So completely darked out here across all of the windows as we go underneath the 118 onto Van Nuys Boulevard. And still just kind of aimlessly going, but going pretty quick, still going through some red lights, going through some stop signs. So even with, you know, no police agency on this person, they are, you know, still driving kind of crazy right now.
Well, you know, it's interesting when you talk about the tint. I have particular interest in that. I remember getting stopped before because of tint on windows, and I believe it used to be, there was a time when, because this is Los Angeles and there were a lot of high-profile people, I think if they had to apply for it and they were allowed to have that kind of tint.
Get some sort of permit for it or something like that.
Yeah, but lately, I mean, you know, you would think that now that's pretty forbidden or verboten, if you will, in Los Angeles. But as Des pointed out, again, and we've seen quite a bit of this over the last couple of months, which makes it obviously difficult for us and, of course, law enforcement to see who's inside the vehicle if there's more than one person.
Yeah, and that's what they were concerned about. I mean, they specifically asked and got additional units to get involved in the pursuit because they didn't know how many people were inside. So you've got this LAPD helicopter, they're monitoring it from above, really high, and actually on a camera is how they're looking at it. And they say the official lingo that they're using is they're monitoring for officer safety is what they're calling. So they're not calling it a chase or tracking, they're just saying they're monitoring the vehicle for officer safety.
Okay, so now we are on a monitor situation. And Desmond, we are going to have you continue to monitor this, and we are going to move on to other news, and we'll come back if developments warrant. So thanks so much, Des and Mike. And we have that breaking news. A pursuit suspect is in custody. That same suspect that Desmond Shaw was following just moments ago. Hi, Des.
Hi, Pat. So, yeah, they drove into a cul-de-sac here off of Kester and Broadmoor Street. Here is the suspect right here. It's very dark down there, I know. It is a lady. She's wearing red and pink, so she was pretty easy to make out. And she kind of did that thing after she crashed the car, and where she kind of got out and walked away casually on the phone. So here's the vehicle. She came up to this cul-de-sac with this really nicely decorated home, and then flipped around and hit these trash cans right here. And I don't think she did any damage to that vehicle there. She was the only one we saw come out. I'm not sure if we have that video queued to show you of her flipping around there, kind of panicked, probably not sure that she ran into a cul-de-sac there, hit those trash cans, and then decided to get out. I don't think the car would have been disabled. Might have just kind of panicked and got out, and because there were no units behind her, she thought that she had the opportunity to run, but the helicopter was able to guide units in and get her into custody. So it sounds like she was the only one in the car. Fortunately, no one injured after all the crazy driving we saw, and that one person in custody for the alleged stolen vehicle. Pat?
Yeah, you know, that monitoring situation really worked out for law enforcement tonight. All right. Thank you so much, Desmond.